So last night, part 5 of Star Wars Ahsoka aired, the episode being called Shadow Warrior. If you would like to avoid spoilers, I did create a spoiler-free show that will be linked in the cards and the description down below, so if you want to avoid spoilers, check that out, because this will be my spoiler review, because there's so much to talk about, so many great things. But just to quickly summarize, this was, I think, the best episode so far, and it is also my favorite episode so far. There's still 3 more episodes that I could change, but yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there for now. But this was an amazing episode. This one was also not just written by Dave Filoni, but also directed by Dave Filoni as well, just to get that out of the way. But this episode is probably the most, delving into the mysteries of the Force, because at the end of last episode, Ahsoka ended up in the War Between Worlds. Well, this episode has basically 3 plot lines. The main one, in my opinion, is with Ahsoka in the War Between Worlds, and basically, and getting one last final lesson from her master, from Anakin Skywalker. Now, it's still up in the air, was this, Anakin's essence in the Force? Was it just a projection of the Force? That's still a little bit up in there. Obviously, it was a projection of the Force, but was it truly Anakin? Or was it just the Force manifesting Anakin so Ahsoka could learn the lesson she needed to learn in order to complete the mission? Honestly, it could go either way, but my initial assumption that this might have been more like a dark side test, definitely not the case because of the musical cues at the end of the last episode. But again, that makes sense with the story that they were telling. Basically, Ahsoka through that story, she resolves her guilt of, when she left her master, left the Jedi, and partially blames herself for Anakin's fall to the dark side. And a big part of her story is learning that she's not responsible for Anakin's downfall. And of course, they do it by several ways. First, it's just a fairly basic duel between them, sparring match they probably had many of times. And obviously, in that scenario, Ahsoka did not learn her lesson, so it goes into much more of a Force vision. Well, basically, it's a younger Ahsoka fighting a battle. I'm not sure which battle it was. Ahsoka only had her one green lightsaber at the time, though. So it was early. I don't think it was Taff. But it could have been. Rex was there. But yeah, it was definitely an early one. But that's which battle is not important. Besides, it was one of the early ones, like I mentioned earlier. And the lesson that Anakin was trying to teach her. Now, there's essentially, a little bit of the lessons from the past that were being brought back to this vision for Ahsoka to help her learn the lesson, and then the overarching thing she needed to learn, that she was not responsible for her master's downfall, for her master's fall to the dark side. And eventually it ends with the Siege of Mandalore, which was the one Clone Wars battle where Anakin was not there, so he was there not knowing what was going on. Of course, Rex was there, and we do get Rex talking. Of course, granted, it's not quite the way I think we wanted, but that's still a possibility. There's 3 more episodes left. But, going back, basically Anakin does turn into Darth Vader, because it makes sense with how the Force vision was structured. And basically, in that duel with Darth Vader, that's when Ahsoka was finally able to accept that it was not her fault that Anakin fell to the dark side. And I think that contributes to things like those darker tendencies of him were always there to begin with. And when she, at the very end of the duel, she defeats Darkseid Anakin, so Vader, though not Suit Vader, even though Suit Vader does appear a little bit in the Force vision, but she does defeat him, but chooses not to kill him, i.e. taking the Jedi way. And that's, in that moment, she says she chooses to live. And that's also probably her choosing also to realize that she's not responsible for her master's fall. And at that point, Vader closes his eyes, opens back up, and it's Anakin's eyes once again. The Sith eyes are gone. I should have mentioned that a bit sooner. And then the Force vision ends, and Ahsoka is rescued from the ocean on Celos by Hera and the X-Wing pilots with her, I forget all their names. I should remember the main one because he also appeared in The Mandalorian. But they're there to help Hera with, find out what happened. And actually, that's the kind of B story, if you will. So the A and B story occurring simultaneously. They're searching to figure out what happened. They do find Hu Yang, who is basically basically lamenting the fact that he told Ahsoka and Sabine to stay together and that they never listen. Yeah, he's being himself there. But essentially, they were about to give up. Not to mention that that they dropped the line that Senator Organa can only cover for them so long. I really do like that call out to Leia there. But they eventually do get to the point where they're getting kind of frustrated and almost ready to call it when Jason, so Hera's son, heals lightsabers in the ocean. He is hearing the duel that Ahsoka is having with Anakin in her Force vision. He is Force sensitive, and the main X-Wing pilot, again, why can't I remember his name? He's probably in the cast list if I went to bet. I'm just double checking. I should know this one. Carson Teva. I knew I would find his name eventually. But yeah, so he basically is kind of like confused when all this is going on. But then Hu Yang tells him that Jason's father was Kanan Jarrus and has special abilities, and that basically clicks for him what's going on. Makes sense. And because of Jason, and also a little bit of Chopper's help too, they were able to get a better point. But that's near the end of the vision when Chopper was actually able to find Ahsoka. Because the vision was ending, she was returning from the War Between Worlds back to, the main Star Wars galaxy. And that kind of ends the first half of the episode. Ahsoka spends like a day recovering, and then of course Hera talks with Mon Mothma and basically being recalled and has to basically testify before the Senate committee, and if she doesn't want to lose her command, and that would be best if Ahsoka went to also testify because that increases her chances. So I have a feeling what happened at the end of the episode and the testimony from all the other New Republic officers there might just be like, yeah, okay, well, you definitely may have made the right call there. But kind of circling back, during that moment, before that moment actually, Ahsoka uses a commentary which probably she's not as skilled at as Cal Kestis, but still possesses the ability to do that, to figure out what occurred after she fell off the cliff and went into the War Between Worlds between Skull and Sabine. And then she also is just thinking on how to approach. Should I approach this, how they're gonna find Sabine and everyone else? Well, she looks up and sees the Purgo and she knows what to do. And should I also mention during this, she's finally wearing her white robe that we saw in the epilogue of Star Wars Rebels. She's gone through the journey she needed. There's still more she can learn, but her main story arc is complete. I don't think I expect it to be completed this quickly, but her main story arc that has been her overall encompassing character pretty much since the end of Season 5 of Star Wars The Clone Wars, her and Sabine's story together still needs to be accomplished. But essentially, Ahsoka uses the Force to communicate to Purgo, so her, Hu Yang, hitch a ride with the Purgo, and hopefully they'll end up where Thrawn, Ezra, Sabine, and all the rest are. Hera and Jason and the New Republic do stay behind, probably because there's only so much more Hera can use her authority to push them on this unauthorized mission. But I have a feeling the testimony from the New Republic officers seeing all the Purgo jump into hyperspace, that might just be what it takes to prevent Hera from losing her command, or maybe not, it's hard to say. But also when you clearly got the Chancellor and another Senator fairly sympathetic, and probably also the Senator from LaSalle as well, once he's informed of all this, probably with that could help at least, get some proponents on her side. But yeah, like I said, that kind of summarizes the episode. I know I spent, I think, most of it talking about Ahsoka's main story in here, but that's because that was the best part. Seeing Phase 1 Clone Trooper armor again in live action was amazing. Seeing live action Captain Rex also. Sure, it wasn't much, and it was probably mostly CGI, but still, we finally got to see it. And then we got to see live action Siege of Mandalore, and man, we often say the Clone Wars isn't a kid's show, but the difference between the way they show the Siege of Mandalore in the Clone Wars and the Siege of Mandalore here is so different. It is much more brutally shown here. In fact, all the combat is shown much more brutally. Like, sure, the explosions, like, and all that seem, okay, they're bad, but not. No, they feel, the live action explosions seem much more of having an impact, much more devastating and dangerous. The battlefield is portrayed as much more smoky and grainy than normal. Granted, that could have been partially because it was a forced vision, so things weren't as clear, but at the same time, it could also be a much more accurate reflection of what the battlefield conditions look like. Hard to say, but I think it's definitely very fascinating. And just very enjoyable how they took something we saw before and made it looking so great in live action. That I think is going to cover nearly everything I wanted to say. I am positive in fact that I am missing something, but that is what the comment section down below is for, so let me know in those comments, what did you think of this episode? I would love to hear your opinions on it. But that's all I have for you today, so thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you, always. Thank you for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like, as well as subscribe to my channel and ring that bell to stay up to date on my latest content. Also, be sure to check out the link tree in the description, as well as any other links I have down there.